So, Mark McNutt here, and I'm really excited to talk about the new moon in Pisces 2023. Always gives me a lot of hope at this time of year. It's probably also subjective. It's my birthday time, and being an Aquarian Piscean cusp. So, just as we're motivating into the new moon, the sun is also going into Pisces. So, we're experiencing a whole new situation from a few days ago. And so new moon Pisces, and Saturn's right there about to go into Pisces on March 8th, and all aligning there, and Pluto's going to go into Aquarius in about March 23rd, right at the next new moon. These are big developments. Saturn well, first of all, let's talk about Pisces. So Pisces is the last of the signs, and I always talk about it in terms of cosmic composting. You go through the entire cycle of the signs, starting with Aries being about personal will and initiative, and it becomes more and more archetypal as it goes along. And so the last four signs, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, are a very universal point of the energy of first fire, then earth, grounding it, and then Aquarius being the intellectual aspects and the reaching out to all humanity, and people are always excited about Aquarius that way. And then Pisces is like after you've connected with everybody, after you've been everywhere, after you've achieved the highest heights in the mountains, it's like, well, you have to dissolve so that you can start on the next level. And so Pisces time is about that. Many people talk about the 13 signs, and want to kind of cram something in the end there. But the zodiac, as we know it, there's the four seasons, and you trisect into 12 equal pieces, and that's how we derive the zodiac. It's not Vedic, where it's constellation based. It's based on projection of the Earth outward, and so there's a nice even system with the 12-fold system. But then with the 13th sign, what that has to do with is that there's 13 and a third lunations in a year. So we're actually in the 13th lunation, if you can follow that, meaning we're at the 13th new moon this year. So there is a base 13, which has to do with the emotional content and the irrational, and then there's the base 12, which has to do with structure and order and all that. So that's wasn't planning on going into the base 12 and base 13 argument, but there you have it. And it's so when the moon goes in Pisces, the last new moon of the zodiacal year, then boom, it's like it's a time of completion, release, dissolving, insight, karma, letting things go full circle. And then what happens is there's a natural rebirth that happens at spring equinox, also known as Astrological New Year, which is March 20th. And then the whole cycle starts again. So for me, the year starts on March 20th, but for me also, I always tell people that your personal year starts with your birthday. Well, my birthday is February 19th, and there was a new moon on the evening of my birthday last night. And so my little subjective experience as a human reflects the new beginnings of this time. And it's always frankly, a little bit hard to separate our personal self from the bigger world. And in reality, the bigger world is actually an expansion, a projection of ourselves. In other words, everything we see is actually a projection of what we can comprehend. So that's all nice and philosophical and all that. But and I'm saying this because when we get to Pisces, it's our personal karma and our personal perspective that really matters, because that's what's going to be dissolved into the mix for the next cycle to happen. And so this time around, Saturn is right at the tail end of Aquarius, about to go into Pisces on March 8th. Saturn has to do with the tests of time and groundedness and long-range plans and things like that. So Saturn conjunct Sun and Moon in very close orb right now is about like getting real and getting, this is the time to make plans. This is the time to talk to your friends and to project your best on the world. You know, your hopes, your wishes, your interconnection with whatever your community is, and also the wider community, because Saturn is at this tail end of the cycle, and then Saturn's going to spend most of the year in Pisces, which is well, it's a whole nother ball game. Saturn in Pisces is a time when there's a lot of doing going on, a lot of accomplishing going on. But when Saturn's in Pisces, and the people who I've counseled astrologically with Saturn in Pisces usually have a hard time, because Saturn has to do with everything that's really solid and grounded and so forth. And then in Pisces, it's in the sign of the ethereal and nebulous. So the beauty, the drawback to Saturn in Pisces is it's hard to assess what's really going on. But the beauty of Saturn in Pisces is being released from the lessons of the past and being able to dissolve into a projection of something new. So in other words, reality not standing in the way of one's dreaming. And, you know, so that sounds like a contradiction, and you know, people think that you have to choose between what's real, quote unquote, and which is often very limiting, and what is magical. But Saturn in Pisces is about embracing that magic. Sun in Pisces is about embracing that magic, and right now the Moon's in Pisces as well. So good time for dreaming. Good time for, I don't know, pouring a hot bath and maybe a glass of wine or whatever, and dreaming your next world. This is a great time to be visualizing plans. That's not like well, I need a next job by next week, or this bill, or that, you know, like payment, or that, you know, commitment, that responsibility. No, Saturn in Pisces and the Sun in Pisces time is very much about creative visualization. You know, there's books written on this stuff, and creative visualization is like the ability to take the ethereal matter and make something real with it. Now, my whole life, because I'm Aquarius Pisces cusp, a lot of Pisces, a lot of Neptune. So me personally, I built houses because it's a counterpoint to my starry essence. And we just need a little reminder sometimes that the world is our projection, and it's not just 2 + 2 = 4. I mean, a rational existence is additive. It's like in a rational reality where you believe that you just have to, you know, slot into a reality, quote unquote. The thinking is like 3 + 3 + 3 equals 9, whereas the magical thinking behind that is so accessible during Pisces time is like 3 × 3 × 3 = 27. So in other words, there's an outcome based on belief that can project beyond the material outcome. That's an important lesson to remember, not only this month when it's the Pisces month, but also Saturn moving into Pisces during this lunar month, and being in Pisces for really the next 2.5 years. Now also, Pluto is entering Aquarius. So Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And Pluto in Capricorn, I remember looking at it coming up, and I'm like, well, this looks like it's really going to transform and mess with business as usual and governmental structures and all this, material aspects and all that. And sure enough, a peak point in the pandemic in 2010 when there was 6 planets in Capricorn, including Pluto, really shook things up. And now Pluto will be moving into Aquarius, just kind of licking at the heels of Aquarius and then retrograding briefly back into Capricorn. So Pluto in Aquarius is about transformation through people, through ideas, through idealism and so forth. So even though Saturn's moving out of Aquarius, Pluto's moving into Aquarius for the next something like 14 years or so. And yet still, when planets are on the cusp, when they're on a changing point, they're embracing 2 signs. So Pluto still in Capricorn, which is about, shaking up the foundations of business and government. And then Pluto will be moving into Aquarius, being more people and ideals and new ideas and solutions, and a lot on the electronic wavelengths and so forth. And then Pluto will go back into Capricorn a little bit in the summer and be like, here's what you forgot to do on Earth plane, with all this creative dreaming I just encouraged you to do. And then pick up a few pieces, and then next year Pluto entirely in Aquarius, Saturn in Pisces all year. So the dreaming goes on. And what else needs to be said here? In the next few days, right around the first of the month, Venus conjunct Jupiter in Aries. Venus is going into Aries as I speak on February 20th. And Venus in Aries is like a new lease on our relationships. So it's a time for new beginnings there. We went through months of Mars being retrograde in Gemini, so that was very challenging on relationships. And Mars is still in Gemini now, goes into Cancer soon. Phew. And it's just moving. It's not even for a few more weeks. It's still in Gemini and just moving through the shadow of that retrograde. So there's still some residue with people and their interpersonal struggles with each other. But Mars in Gemini, good time to talk about things. Good time to communicate. And that's going to have a much more positive edge coming up. And as I mentioned, Venus conjunct Jupiter for about a week, right at the end of February and into the beginning of March, is potentially a really good time to reach out and make new connections, new relationships, and expand the ones that you already are in. And Jupiter will be in Aries. Well, at least for a few months, it's going to zip through Aries and go into Taurus. And Jupiter in Aries is like about finding that bold energy, that rekindling the fire. Anything else, Mark? Yeah, let's see. So, well, basically, I want to stick with the overview, which is that we're at a transitional time, that the image of like seeing spring coming, just around the corner, and you visualizing what you want to plant in your garden, that would be like very appropriate advice. Now, a lot of you don't have gardens, but the garden is a metaphor here. So, okay, so I think that's as far as an overview goes, that's what I need to say. That you're not hallucinating. Well, maybe you are, but this is a transitional time, and a very important transitional time to bring in the new wavelength. So what does that mean for you? That's an essay question for this month. And take some time to really space out and tune in, and should serve you well. And I'm excited about these times. So happy last month of winter, and looking forward to the spring.